Hi there, I'm Patrick Lang from Rainbow Seeds in Riverside, Albert, New Brunswick, Canada, and this channel is Autism Farmer. So today, this video is about just all the protocols. I'm going to go through it very fast. All the protocols, what we did to get our son to be healed from autism. We are very close. We're still very busy people trying to do this, and we could have done a better job than what we've done so far, but we are still working towards that goal. And you can see from our before and after photo that we are well on our way to healing our son from autism. It can be done. Do not lose hope. And here's how we did it. First of all, I'm not a doctor. Please seek medical advice and get, you can take all the information that I give to you today, tell that to your doctor, ask your doctor about it, and get that medical advice from your doctor. Your doctor is going to confirm it, because all this stuff that I'm telling you today is from doctors, neurologists, research papers. I studied all this, organic chemistry, biology, and so here we go. So number one, the first thing we did to repair our son's crossed eyes was to lower his potassium. So potassium regulates your body's acidity by binding to bicarbonate in the bile duct. So when it binds to bicarbonate in the bile duct, if your potassium's rising, right, it blocks the bicarbonate from making your foods more alkaline so they can metabolize in your small intestines. So lower that potassium if his potassium numbers are high, right? But with our son, we thought it was the sugar. Turns out it was the potassium, because we knew with the bananas his eyes were going crossed. Summertime his eyes would straighten out. Wintertime his eyes would cross. And summertime he was eating from our garden. So we knew what he was eating. Lowering the potassium is how we did it, and it happens immediately. Within about a week is what it takes. So watch my video on lowering potassium and how that all works, so you can see more about that and why it works and everything about that. So to repair crossed eyes, that's how we did it. Okay, to restore our son's sleeping, right? To get him from 5 hours of sleep total in one day to 13 hours is what we were able to get him up to. 13 hours of sleep, which is so important. You have no idea. It is so important. So what we did was cranial sacral therapy. And what this does is it restores the cerebral spinal fluid's flow down the spine, around the head and down the spine. And that delivers melatonin to your bloodstream. So if you want to go to sleep, you got to get melatonin going down your spine into your bloodstream. If it's not moving, then you're not going to be able to get your sleep. This also is something that you might want to consider for if you have Alzheimer's. Just remember that, because Alzheimer's, we feel that the symptoms are almost exactly the same. We're seeing it with other Alzheimer's people we're seeing. So cranial sacral therapy, I'm going to make a video on specifically these things, so watch those videos and look out for those videos. So when we restored our son's sleeping issues with cranial sacral therapy, guess what? His speech also came. Right? So they go hand in hand. Easy. Cranial sacral therapy is easy, and you'll be surprised. Your Medicare is probably going to cover it. It does for us in New Brunswick, Canada. So ask your doctor. Right? So the other one that we did was avoiding grocery store bought foods. And, grocery stores serve a purpose. I'm not saying become anti-grocery store. I believe everybody should become reconciled, right, to God. That's what I believe. So if they're doing something that's making people sick, or that's not helping with their digestion by adding preservatives or mandating that the farmers must spray chemicals in order to sell to these grocery stores, right? If they're mandating this, and we got approached by these companies and they were mandating it, that they wanted us to spray chemicals on our food before we could sell it to them. So we want them to become reconciled. We want them to change their ways and take care of our children, right, in the summer. So if that's the direction you're going, so you can avoid herbicides, pesticides, preservatives, and additives, right, avoiding the grocery store, in our opinion, it has accelerated our son's healing. In the summertime, he is light years of where he is in the wintertime. So that's why we're really focusing on wintertime food production now, big time. That's all we're doing this year. Okay, so the other thing was to remove anxiety. So it's very difficult to get your son to go, or daughter with autism, to go into a small bathroom, especially at school. And how do you get them potty trained before school starts? Very difficult, but what worked for us, right? So we did the research and we were finding out that like on the PKU diet, the PKU diet is the genetic form of autism, but it's supposedly different, but it's the genetic form. The symptoms are the same, right? So so they remove the meat from the diet of the PKU, and then the brain starts to function normally because they can't metabolize phenylalanine. So so we said, okay, we need to, if the symptoms are the same, we need to try this. When we tried it, his anxiety went away. We could touch his head. We could give him hugs. We could hug our child. We couldn't do that. And that was something that really, really broke our heart at the beginning, because that's, you want your acceptance of your child when you have a child. And a hug is one of the greatest feelings of acceptance from that child, right? So by removing meat from the diet, our son potty trained himself within a week. 1 week, right? So, a lot. I'll do another video of all the foods that we did in order to restore his health, and you're gonna love this because the doctors will say no, an alkaline diet doesn't work. But if you say a low potassium diet, well, guess what? The low potassium diet is the same. Oh, it's almost exactly the same as the alkaline diet, right? So if you say to your doctor, we would like to try a low potassium diet, your doctor's going to say that's a good idea. If you say to your doctor, I'd like to try an alkaline diet, your doctor's not going to say it's a good idea, which is contradicting, right? So mention to your doctor low potassium diet, not alkaline. And I'll do a video and show you all the foods that we did on that, and what foods were actually benefiting, what chemicals in the body, and so on. Okay, so now here's something that we did that had to do with my wife and our son, right? So during my wife's pregnancy with our son Noah, her thyroid was going crazy. Ever since she came to Canada, she's from Bulgaria. Ever since she came to Canada, her thyroid was going nuts, right? And the number one prescribed medicine, right, is thyroxine. So in any case, there was a Dr. Moulton that was coming out and saying why autism was happening, and he ended up dying. And maybe I'll get a chance to talk about that more. But he was showing what the symptoms of autism were on a biological level, right? And he had another doctor working with him that was doing the blood work, specifically blood work. And one of the symptoms of autism was that they had Reuleaux, right? The more severe the autism, the more severe the Reuleaux. Reuleaux is when your red blood cells stick together and they roll up like a roll of coins, right? And they can't deliver oxygen to your thyroid, funnily enough, right? To your liver, to your pancreas, to your kidneys, right? To all your glands, to your brain, right? So when you get Reuleaux, it's like your your red blood cells are supposed to be all negatively charged, so they repel each other. But what was happening is some would be negative, some would be positive. It's like a magnet, boom, and they stick together, right? And it'll go negative, positive, negative, positive. That's the way it works, right? And so we watched a video, it must have been 30 years old, that was on film, and they converted it digital to digital MP4 format. And basically, this doctor was showing using pycnogenals to separate your red blood cells. We were studying this like crazy. We didn't know. Some people were saying magnets and other things. And this is, stay away from stuff like that. Stay as far away from stuff like that. Pine bark was the answer. And this doctor, using pine bark extract, a pycnogenal, this is a doctor. He was doing that and digestive enzymes, and everybody's blood, even the worst case scenarios, within 1 month, the blood was clear. He showed the before and after. Before, there was fungus and unmetabolized food floating in the bloodstream. And it was a horrible mess. When you get Reuleaux, you are chronically ill. Chronically ill, right? And this is what the doctors say about Reuleaux. People get chronically ill, they have Reuleaux, right? And so, in order to repair it, pine bark extract, and we actually saw it online, $15 for 3 months supply in a bottle, capsules, and we would put it in strawberry smoothies. That's what we were doing. Strawberry smoothies, and take 1 capsule, put it in. We also did B12, but so pine bark, I'll just explain it to you really quick, almost just like Viagra, right? It comes from the bark of a tree, and what it is, it's a vascular relaxer. So it opens up your capillaries, restores the blood flow to your deep tissue, to your organs, to your glands, all of these things. And that's what you need to do to get the oxygen back in to producing hormones, right? To producing insulin, all this stuff, right? So you want to get your hydrogen functioning normally, right, which is lowering potassium, and then your hydrogen's flowing faster, and you want to do your pine bark. That's what I'll say. You don't want to do that. That's what we did. Sorry. Everybody's path's different. That's what we did. And it worked. My wife was cured of her thyroid issues within 1 week. She couldn't even remember that she had the problems. And it never went back. Never again did she have these problems, right? With me, I started taking the pine bark extract, and within a week, I noticed my triceps started to get big again. And I was like, it's like I was in my 20s, my triceps started to get big again. And, for lack of a better terms, my libido had increased immediately. And so, your healing ability to heal, your ability to process proteins, it appeared to me, because I was getting more muscles, but it probably also meant that my capillaries were opening up, and I was able to deliver those proteins to the deep tissue. And I think that's probably the main thing, right? So it was delivering oxygen to the organs and the glands, but delivering those proteins to the deep tissue so that I could build muscles again, right? So, yeah, this worked. Pine bark extract, fantastic, repaired Reuleaux, and helped deliver oxygen again where it needed to go. You got to remember, your body is something like 75% H2O, hydrogen, oxygen, right? If your hydrogen and oxygen are not functioning correctly, your body is not functioning correctly. Get those two functioning correctly first, and then move on to these other things. So the last protocol that we're going to do, we haven't done it yet, is actually to restore our son's microbiome. because Dr. Stephanie Seneff from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, who is coming out talking about what these herbicides are doing to our microbiome, uh, she's given all this great information, and if the microbiome's being disturbed, destroyed, interfered with, uh, then what we need to do is restore it, right? And so there's other good doctors on YouTube that have been talking about fecal transplants, and their results happen in one day. So they do these before and after tests. They do the fecal transplant, and the next or 24 hours later, their microbiome has been restored, right? So from a healthy donor to you in 24 hours, and your microbiome's been restored. So we are going to do this. We don't know if Canada will pay for this and will allow us to do this. We're going to have our whole family do it. The whole family, we're going to do it. And what they do is they test this fecal matter for bad bacteria. They test it for bad things. So I hope they are, I hope they follow through on that, and I hope they don't make mistakes on that. Let's hope, right? So that's our next protocol. But as you can see from our before and after photos, just in a short time, our son has gone from being completely mentally retarded to almost being completely caught up with his entire class, right? So this is amazing. These are the protocols that have worked for us. You've heard these stories from a parent in your state or your province that was able to do it, and I'm just showing you from our experience. That's it, right? So work this out with your doctor, but I'm just giving you the updates of how we did it. Now, some additional protocols that we are doing that are just kind of, smaller, that some people can do them, some people can't. So we raise goats because one of the most difficult things with an autistic child is, how do you feed them? How do you keep them happy if their diet is so limited? So, you take dairy out of your diet, that's cheese, ice cream, yogurt, all of these things, milk, cereal, and you don't get that experience like we did growing up as a child, and that was one of our favorite things, like stuff like mac and cheese or whatever, right? Or even yogurt. And so we raise goats. Goat's milk is as far as I know, it's the only alkaline milk there is, right? That humans consume. So alkaline, that's brilliant. So when I look at that, I say, okay, it's got to be lower in potassium, right? So that's what I want, right? And our goats, we have selenium salt licks that are prescribed for them because goats need extra selenium. So they're getting selenium into their milk as well, and other minerals that are organic, right? Because they're eating from fields that have never been sprayed before, right? So we can trust that, and the local farmers that supply us with oats, they're not spraying any chemicals on those oats, as far as we know. God willing, hopefully they're not, right? And so goat's milk. That's one. We raise our own chickens. That's two. Although it's difficult to get chicken feed that hasn't been sprayed or that isn't genetically modified. So this year we're growing corn just so we have dry corn for their feed for the winter. And so, but the organic chicken feed is double the price. Just pay it. Just do it, right? Your health and your ability to function normally is going to pay you down the road in spades. And I'm seeing a lot of these symptoms popping up in the majority of the population now. And quite honestly, if you can survive this horrible generation of poisoning our families, ourselves, if you can survive this, you're going to be very well off. And just survive it. Money doesn't matter right now. All roads will lead to you if you just survive this generation. So the other thing is we design our farm uh, around growing foods that our son loves or that are beneficial for him. And I'll just give you one example. So we've been planting cherry trees, right? So he loves cherries. Cherries have the highest level of plant-based melatonin I've ever done research on. It is probably 10 times the highest melatonin uh, based plant or plant food or other fruit or vegetable. It's at least 10 times, but it's 100 times more melatonin, plant-based melatonin, than anything I've ever seen. So if you want to get that plant-based melatonin into your child, melatonin is the precursor for glutathione, and if when you get sick, chronically ill, your glutathione levels start to come down because you use it up, right? Because your body is in desperate need for glutathione in order to heal itself, and you use up those stores. So we were trying to figure out how to get more melatonin and what actually builds this in the body. So cherries, that's an example. Strawberries, blueberries. We do a ton of cucumbers, carrots, right? So these are a lot of the things that we do. And yeah, tons of leaf lettuces, gourmet lettuces, and you can grow that all winter, and that's wonderful. So these are the protocols we did. That's what's worked in just the last couple of years, and he's gone from completely mentally retarded to almost totally caught up with his class. So once again, please like and share this video. Hit the bell to get notifications of future videos. And yeah, pass this information on to people you know who are having digestive issues, who are having Alzheimer's issues, autism issues, ADHD. The list goes on and on and on. Please pass this on, and so we can get our families and these kids healed. I hope to see you on the next video. Please watch the other videos to get a more in-depth insight into all these things that I talked about today. I'll talk with you soon. See you guys.